20 kilometers.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, Wanjiko says, yeah. Flying Brandman is here. Yeah. So, good. So, I think because of time, we shall start. So, I'll start off by introducing Prof. You know, when I did yes, Rachel says Karibu Sana, we are looking forward. I think also she's also working on her PhD as well. So hopefully some inspiration will rub on a number of people who are on. So today I have the honor and opportunity to introduce quite a learned lady. When I did research, in fact, I asked myself, how does one get to Wikipedia? Because she was there. I have read a lot, but I'm not on Wikipedia. So maybe Prof will enlighten us at some point how we get there. But allow me to walk us through some of I had to really summarize this so that it doesn't take the whole session. I might not be very familiar with the terminologies, but allow me and I'll be corrected where I go wrong. So with us here today on Breaking Barriers is Professor Elizabeth Ann Bukusi, MB, CHB, MD, MPH, PhD. So Prof is a research professor working within the field of obstetrics and gynecology and global health. Her main areas of research focus around sexually transmitted infections, women's health, reproductive health, and HIV care, prevention and treatment. She is the Chief Research Officer at the Kenya Medical Research Institute, KEMRI, and led a landmark study on the use of PREP in Kenya. You know, I didn't know whether to say PrEP or PREP. How do you say that, Prof?
We say PrEP.
PrEP, okay. But I went ahead just so that I can get a little bit enlightened, and thanks to Google to check what that was, and I hope I got it right. So that is a pre-exposure prophylaxis, the taking of a prescription drug as a means of preventing HIV infection in a HIV negative person. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay, all right. At least I can read at the very least, yeah. Professor Bukusi gained her general medical degree, followed by her master's in obstetrics and gynecology from the University of Nairobi. She then went on to earn a certificate in international health, master's in public health, MPH, okay, now I know MPH, and a PhD from the University of Washington's Department of Epidemiology. Is that something to do with the skin?
No, epidemiology has to do with the learning about diseases and disease determinants and trends of diseases. So
yes.
Public health is that health from a global point of view, from a large number of individuals, whereas when you're studying initially, you're focused on one person. But epidemiology, you're looking at determinants and the trends of health and well-being among communities.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, now I know everything that starts with epi does not necessarily mean skin.
Yes.
Subsequent qualifications include a postgraduate diploma in research ethics from the University of Cape Town, then a master's in bioethics from the Sin Institute of Urology and Transplantation. Bukusi's academic roles include Chief Research Officer at KEMRI, Chair of the Bioethics Society of Kenya, a research professor at the University of Washington, honorary lecturer at Aga Khan University, and volunteer clinical faculty professor at the University of California, San Francisco. Since 2004, she has been co-PI of the CDC PEPFAR-funded Kenya-based Family AIDS Care and Education Services, FASIS, HIV Care and Support Program. As part of that, and in collaboration with Dr. Craig Cohen, she developed the Student Training Elective Program, STEP, which places medical students and residents in FASIS clinics. She has over 15 years experience conducting research in HIV prevention, care, and treatment among women and men in Kenya. Her research focuses on development of HIV prevention technologies, HIV care and treatment, and ethics in research. But today, she's joining us on breaking barriers for another reason. But she's already broken barriers in that line, and we'll want to hear a little bit of that as well. She's an accomplished weightlifter, a fitness enthusiast, as many of us may have heard about her, running and weightlifting, etc. So it's interesting, and the reason why we actually thought about you as one of the breaking barriers people is actually the side of weightlifting in conjunction with what you're able to do on a day-to-day, which is just moving away from the norm of just being in the office and research and all that, and going out there and doing what people would not expect you to have time for. So karibu sana, Prof, and you can say hello.
Thank you very much, and hello to everybody who may be watching this now, or whoever may watch it at some point in time in the future.
Yes, correct, because after this, I'm going to put it on my YouTube channel. And thank you very much, Prof, because I know we've come a long way. It's been discussion for weeks. Allow me to say that you joined Instagram because of this, and we had lengthy discussions of whether you want, and I know I used to be social media shy, but because of running and inspiration, I had no choice. So we are really grateful that you took this up, and I'm sure you are going to inspire very many people. And you've seen many people some people who are PhD holders, some people who are aspiring PhD holders are here. So and the young people who will draw many lessons from you. I know Duko is here. I don't know, Prof, if you know Tata Duko.
No, maybe you can tell me a bit more about Tata Duko. I know some Dukus, but I don't know which specific one this one is.
She actually used to work with Camry, and she runs a lot. She started running at 50.
Yes.
That's right. So she's online, and yes. So she's online, and she has said a big hello. FKK, karibu sana. So, Prof, say hello to the people just officially.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to have a chat with you this evening, and thank you for making the time to join this discussion.
Yeah. So, Prof, before we go to the issue of exercise and breaking barriers in that line, when I was looking through your studying about doing some research on you, and I compared with my CV just to fill up half a page, because I read already a page and I really simplified. I will have written everything that I did, even school captain and DH captain, and the way I made, some of us we write, I returned money a wallet that was lost, just to fill up the CV. And of course, we'll go back up to nursery school, which nursery school we went to. And if we scored well, we'll go ahead and mention how much we scored, because you've got to fill up that CV. But we can, yours is actually so much that we don't even know how the rest of the studies below. And because, you did fall right into University of Nairobi, maybe you can just brief us on your earlier education, just for people to appreciate that you did come up that way with the same hustles and bustles of all of us.
Yes, well, to get to university, you have to go through high school. In my days, we had to do not only O levels, but A levels as well. Yeah. But yes, I had the privilege of going to nursery school, to going to primary school, to joining high school, and eventually to getting to university. I'm glad to say that I've had the privilege of having the unique experience of experiencing 3 Kenyan high schools, which were very good schools. My first year of high school and a little bit of my second form was actually at Highlands, which is now called Moi Nairobi Girls. Now, I was there for just a brief period of time, a year and 1 term. And then I moved over, because at that point in time, my parents lived in Mombasa, and Eldoret was a little bit far. So I moved over to Kenya High, and Kenya High is where I finished my O-levels. When I finished O-levels, I went to Alliance Girls, and I did my A-levels there, and then I went on to the University of Nairobi to study medicine. So that's a little bit about my high school. And yes, I would also be writing those ones of I was a prefect, the prefect, everybody. And those are part of the things that help form people's future. So I would not discount them. They are very, very important.
Correct. And that's why I actually thought to mention that, because I guess because when you have a lot up there, then I think by the time you trickle, then it might be 10 pages. Yeah, so very well done. I think we can all appreciate that she did come up in a certain way. And maybe another question in line of education before we can go to the workout bit is, did you ever imagine that you would get up to this level study-wise, or has it happened just as you carried on with life? Or had you, because I know some people, I mean someone like Wanjiko was, got her doctorate, I think, before 30, so maybe that is, Wanjiko, I'm not reporting on you, but maybe that was the line she took. So maybe you can tell us about yourself, etc. I might be inspired maybe to get something extra. You never know. There are many people around me who are working on that.
So I came from a family that was very encouraging of academics. Both my parents were very, very encouraging and encouraging us to do well in school. So all my siblings, I'm the fourth born. Out of my mother's children, we have 5 of us. And I do have 3 other half sisters from my stepmom. So we were a family that grew up encouraged by my parents. Now, it's easier for me to talk about my siblings because I grew up with them. My half sisters are much younger. So we were all encouraged to really focus and on academics and do well in school. So I was one of those who was a bit of a swot. So in school, I was not athletic at all. I only participated in games when my house needed someone to represent them and someone had to be there. I wouldn't say that I achieved any athletic prowess in high school. No, I was more on the academic side, the one who'd be called if to go and do science congress or to go and do debating or things like that. Not the hockey team, not the basketball team. No, that was not me. So that's where I was at. But I think that I was going to get this far. I knew that I would do well enough because I was always doing well in school, well enough to get to whatever chosen career. But I actually wanted to do childhood education. By the time I finished my A-level, there weren't any opportunities for childhood education. So my parents encouraged my father in particular to go and do medicine, and he said, you can always become a children's doctor. So I went into medicine thinking that, maybe I would get an opportunity to do early childhood education or I would become a children's doctor. But along the line, it changed, and I decided being a women's doctor was perhaps more suitable to the work I wanted to do rather than becoming a children's doctor. And along the way, I realized I was interested in research, really because I worked as a young doctor on the border town of Bukusi, Kenya and Uganda. And that was where the HIV epidemic could really be felt. Even just with things like donating blood, we were having to discard blood. At that point in time, we didn't have rapid tests. So people donated blood first, and then we tested. If the blood was HIV positive, we discarded it. We didn't have rapid tests where you test someone first to then determine should they even donate or not. And just seeing the amount of blood we're discarding really made me realize that HIV was going to be a big challenge. And that's, in a sense, what encouraged me to think about going into research. And I also got interested in women's health, just recognizing the many things that were a challenge for women. When you work in a small town, most of the emergencies you deal with have to do with women who are giving birth or women who are pregnant or women who have some kind of emergency. And seeing the number of lives that either were lost or we could save as a result encouraged me to think about doing women's health as a specialty.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. That's quite fascinating. Then fast forward to some while ago, I remember, I think, browsing through some social media, and then I see someone who is familiar to me because there's one time we stayed, of course, in the same estate. It's interesting how life is that we stayed there, and here we are many years later in a show together. And I remember seeing you carrying so much chuma, and I'm thinking, wow, is this her? And I'm almost zooming to see, this one you can, I mean, so how did you get, and the funny thing, the other even more interesting thing was the t-shirt that you had worn, Kula Nyama Beba Chuma. So how did you get into that?
It's a bit of a long story, but let me see if I can give you a shortened version of it. My interest in the outdoor sports really started when my church, I attended Ruby Chapel, it's on the road, right near the show. My church decided in the early 2000s, when we were relocating, we were initially located, or our first branch was really located just within the University of Nairobi premises, opposite Women's Hall near Nairobi Primary School. So we outgrew the church and needed to move. But in order to raise funds, relocate the church, we decided, and our senior pastor decided, we're going to do a mountain climb. And that mountain climb was really what pushed me to my first interest in terms of really doing the outdoor. So we're going to climb up to Mount Kenya. So a small group of people were challenged to climb. The children walked from Nairobi to Thika. We had a group walk from Thika all the way to Narumoru. We had people from Narumoru who started climbing all the way to Lenana. And then a small group of people were to attempt to climb all the way to the highest peak, which is Batian. So initially I'd signed up to actually climb to Lenana because I'd never climbed Mount Kenya. I thought this is a good idea for me to climb Mount Kenya. I was just about hitting 40 then, and I thought, good idea, let me do something. Then I felt inspired and thought, why don't I try and do the big climb? Let me do something big. This is something we're doing for God in order to relocate the church. Let me challenge myself and be one of the smaller team that would actually climb all the way. So I signed up to train, and my goodness, it was challenging because we had to train by going up Mount Kenya and going all the way to Lenana just to acclimatize. We had to go to Hell's Gate in Naivasha to learn how to climb because this is a technical climb. It's not just a walk. You need to learn to use ropes, and the ropes don't pull you up. The ropes are for protection to help you in case you fall. So it was a very, very challenging climb. But that year challenged me to push myself to a level I had never pushed before. I used to walk around. I lived in Dam Estate then, before I moved up to where I live now and where we sort of lived in common. And I had to walk with stones in a backpack to get me used to the idea of carrying a heavy backpack. So it was a very challenging year for me. We eventually did climb, and I had to say that we didn't get to Nelian. The second team got to Nelian. My team, we had to climb in two teams. We got up to Nelian, not to Batian, the second highest peak. Because when we got up to Nelian, it was late, it was dark, we didn't have enough food and water, and it was icy. And that is a climb where if you're not careful, lives can be lost. So we had to make a call to come back down, but it allowed the team to plan so that the next team that went up that had our senior pastor actually made it to Batian. So I did make it to Nelian, and I was one of the two ladies who were in that climb, and I'm really happy that the two of us were the first native Kenyan ladies who were not rangers to have made it to that highest point. So it was an achievement, getting up to Nelian. But that really spun me into the outdoors. And then as I continued with the work that I enjoyed doing, teaching Sunday school, which has been something I've done for many years, we also teach the class, and it goes into what we call a rites of passage, a camp that they do every year. Now, in order to keep up with the 13 and 14-year-olds who are at camp, I needed to get fit. Because otherwise, I'm at camp with them, and I would be heaving and hawing, and they would be, leaving me 1,000 miles behind. And I couldn't very well tell them, give me 10 push-ups, and I couldn't do the push-ups myself. So I realized I needed to start fit in order to help me be able to keep up with the classes that I wanted to. So that's what really pushed me to fitness. But I didn't take it very seriously at that time. Eventually, in around 12, when I realized I would need to take my fitness a bit more seriously because now age was also catching up with me, that's when I joined the gym and started trying to get fit, relatively fit. But unfortunately, at that point in time, what also happened, one of our team building activities at church, we were the team on a very slippery part of grass because it had rained the night before, and I slipped and I twisted my ankle slightly. Now, when I twisted my ankle, I was told I needed to rest, but I thought if I take off from not exercising, it will be very difficult for me to get back into exercising again. Because once you quit, it's so easy to find.
Yes.
At that time, the exercises I was doing was more, I would go into the gym and we would do, the Zumba classes in the morning or the dance classes or do aerobics. And I really enjoyed those. But they were very good for my cardio, but they didn't do very much for actually a lot of fitness or for building muscle. Now, when I went in and said, I don't want to stop coming to the gym, but I can't do anything because of my ankle. That's when I was introduced to weightlifting. The trainer at the gym said, well, why don't you focus on your upper body while you have to rest your ankle? We'll focus on your upper body and we'll get you to lift weights. And I thought, no, I don't want to lift weights. I'll end up looking, big and bulky. You think about all these weightlifters. And he said, no. It's a good way to tone up, and this is a good way for you to actually get fit. So that's how we started. So we started, and at that time, I was the only who would be in the gym lifting weights because everybody else was doing the aerobics. But after a while, people started noticing that it was making a difference. And then even after I healed, I was very happy to continue with my weightlifting on certain days. Then the ladies realized, the weightlifting is good. So many more people started weightlifting, and actually the men were struggling because they were fighting for the weights with us. Everybody started coming into the weightlifting because they saw. But in that same spirit of weightlifting, that's what eventually really got me interested in lifting heavier weights, because the trainer would set me certain targets and would say, in the next 3 months, this is what I'd like to see you being able to lift. So he'd set me certain rounds, he'd set me certain weights and certain targets for building up. And then I was hitting the targets before the time he had set. So that's what made him say, you know what, maybe this weightlifting, maybe something you seem to do it relatively easily. Why don't we set you higher targets? So he started setting me higher and higher targets. I was traveling quite a lot because of my work. I wasn't always available. But when I was very happy to be there and lifting weights, and I found that I enjoyed it. That's when he recommended and suggested, why don't you enter for the weightlifting competition? And I told him, no, that's not my thing. I'm just doing it to keep fit. I don't want to enter a weightlifting competition. He was persistent, and after a period of time, it wasn't going to cost me anything. I was already lifting because I was just the lifting. I decided there's no harm in it. And that's how I ended up in the weightlifting competition.
Okay. What was the name of the weightlifting competition? I actually have gotten so used to calling it Kula Nyama Beba Chuma.
The weightlifting was called Strongman. Strongman Kenya. It was a Strongman Kenya competition of strong man and strong women. And they used to, so that they had, I think, 5 different competitions that you first needed to do, the preliminaries. There was Nairobi, there was Mombasa, there was Kisumu, there was Nakuru, and there was one more town, possibly Nakuru, Eldoret. So people would go and lift, and then they take the best lifters, the top achievers, each of those would then come in and then the final in the Nairobi. Nairobi was now the finals.
Yes. And how far did you go with that? How far did you get?
I actually got to the finals, and I think in a sense, it's interesting that I got to the finals, because when I went to do the preliminaries, initially they asked you to you have to fill in a disclaimer form in case of injuries and in case of concerns. So when they were filling in and you put your age and your details, I filled in my details. Then the person who took my form walked away and then came back and said, have you filled in the correct age? And I said, yes, I have. And then he said to me, because you're the age of my mother. And I said, yes, I should be, because you look like you're about the age of my sons. And so he walked away rather perplexed that there was this person who was his mother's age who was here lifting weights, because for him, it looked a little bit odd. So I did go for the preliminaries, and then from there I was invited to go into the finals, and I did then go to the finals.
Yes. Wow, that was nice. And wow. So during this time, Prof, and on a day-to-day, I'm just trying to figure out how your routine is like, just to be able to do the kind of things that you do. And I know because in this preparation, you and I had to really try and flex time here and there to align our meetings. So just how is your routine like on a general day, just to be, for people to be able to see how are you able to do the work, to train and to do other things, Sunday school, etc.?
Well, on a regular day, I wake up depending on what my day is like, but I have a regular waking time. One of the important things that we talk about in medicine is having what we call sleep hygiene. Have a regular pattern of sleeping. Many people sleep at different times, and they're a bit haphazard about their sleeping. It's like whenever I get to sleep, I'll sleep. If I have a lot of work, I'll work a lot. If I have little work, I'll sleep early. But having a regular routine is really important, because it allows your body to develop a rhythm of work and rest.
Yes.
So I regular routine, and I tend to sleep early. Sleeping before midnight is actually helpful for many people because a lot of the deep sleep occurs before midnight. And so
Yes.
if you're able to get to sleep before midnight, it would actually probably be good for you, unless, of course, you're working at night when you don't have an option. But if you're a daytime job person, it's probably recommendable you think about sleeping before midnight, and then make sure you're getting enough sleep. That's another challenge, that if you don't get enough sleep, it's very hard for you to perform at your best. So making sure you get, most people are 7-8 hour sleepers. Some people are 6.5, 7. So making sure that you get enough sleep. So I sleep early, but I also, when I wake up early, usually I'll have some quiet time, alone time, where I can read my Bible, spend some time praying. And after that is when I would usually do my exercise. When I was at the gym, I usually used to go to the gym when it opened. When the gym opened, 5:55, I would be there. So usually I'd leave home by 5, and by 5:20, I'd be in the gym. It gave me the opportunity to be able to do my gym work, warm up, get my weights done, and then do whatever aerobic exercise I wanted to do, shower, and then I'd be able to be in the office. By 7:30, 8, I'd already be in the office and able to have a regular routine. COVID, of course, brought to a bit of a standstill because the gyms closed and weren't available and people were not able to go. I had a little home gym that my sons used to use when they were still at home. Everybody's moved out. But we had dismantled it because, one, they were leaving, and because now we're all sort of lifting heavy, and my sons were lifting even heavier than I was, we thought, well, it's better to lift in a gym where there are other people rather than lifting in a gym alone where you're in the house by yourself. So where there are people, in case you're struggling or something, there'd always be someone around who could help. So I had to find a different routine. Now this is where I started learning how to run. One of the things I started doing, even when I was weightlifting, was I started doing kickboxing. It was something that I just got interested in because two of my sons were interested in kickboxing, and so I also picked it up as a sport. So that was something I've been able to continue even during this period of time when there was COVID, because the trainer can come early in the morning, and at 5 we find a spot outside where there's a good place where there's cabro, and we're able to do the kickboxing for an hour and a half. That's a good way for me to work out both my cardio and keep my muscles really working. And then during this period of COVID in specific, I decided I'd never enjoyed running. Actually, running was one of those things that I did when I had no option whatsoever. But COVID has brought a new love for running for me. I have learned to actually enjoy running, and it's been one of the things that I've been doing, running. First, just within the estate, and then just because of safety and, of course, other reasons, I got a trainer who runs with me on Sunday mornings, and I've been able to train, and I was able to finish the half marathon. I'm a member of the Slow Runners Association, over doubt, but able to finish the marathon very comfortably, half marathon very comfortably, and to enjoy the process.
Okay.
Idea of
that's very
a usual exercise routine. In the evenings, when I don't have conference calls, or if I have them, I will usually take a walk, a brief walk, 20 minutes, just walking around the estate in the evening, because where I live, it's relatively secure. But I walk with weights. I wear a weighted vest. So usually I wear a 20-kilo weighted vest, or I add on the days, alternate days, I'll wear a 20-kilo plus another 10 or another 12. So a total of about 30 kilos. And then just do a brisk walk with a weighted vest to push up my heart rate, to push up my cardio rate as well.
Okay, so some people will say, "Hey, na haujipendi prof kama hii, mpaka unatembea na weighted vest." And very interesting that you're even doing kickboxing. So I guess people can now look back and say, wow, if you get into trouble with this granny, you're going to get a real thrashing. She's strong, she can kick and all that. But I guess, no, that's actually very, very inspiring. And actually, Robert Nguyen says a true definition of breaking barriers. I admire your mental strength. And there's a lot of some comments, lots of comments from guys. So well done, Prof. And it actually shows that we can actually do so much, even between our busy routines. So, Prof, in the olden days, people were either good in academics, those who played soccer, and were almost full-time soccer players, or volleyball players, or basketball players. But in today's era, and although you may not necessarily be termed as today's era, but in today's era, in terms of of your heart and outlook to things, one is able to combine all that. What would be a comment about some people just looking at academics and others looking at sports, and the fact that they can go together?
I would agree with you, David. They absolutely need to go together, because one of the things about academics that we keep now saying is one of our biggest killers right now is not even the refined food that people are eating, but sitting down for periods of time on our devices. You're on your computer, you're on your phone, you're constantly on some media, something. So we live our lives, instead of living it physically, we live it virtually, in a virtual space where we are constantly relating to something else other than where we actually are. And that's what's causing a lot of the mobility that we're seeing. So I agree with you that people absolutely need to combine. It's not just about the academics. It's about doing, and your body needs that exercise, needs that activity to allow you to be able to do your best. When you do some exercise, and this has been well shown, you do get a push of what we call endorphins. They're hormones that are in your body. It's inspiring. You are more alert. You're able to get work done. When you're in a fitter space, it actually allows you to do a lot more than you would do otherwise if you're not in that space. So yes, people can combine. You can combine different loves, different opportunities, different excellences. You don't have to only be good at one thing. You can be a well-rounded person who's good at more than one thing.
Yeah. I like that point of different excellences, so I'll be borrowing it every so often. The other thing I say about workout is also a time for yourself, because most of the time you're busy doing things for others, for work, to meet your day-to-day requirements, but workout is for you and you alone. And there is no amount of money you can pay someone to do it for you. You have got to do it for you. And it's also very gratifying to set targets and be able to achieve them. And I think that when you achieve those targets in the places of workout, you're also able to realize that any other challenge that comes your way, whether work or otherwise, can also be surmounted with the same kind of attitude. So that's actually quite a good lesson. So what does your diet look like, Prof? Do you have to have, and especially weightlifting, etc., and general workout? What does your diet look like generally? And also because diet is also a part of good health. So maybe you can take us through that.
Well, I'll tell you what, my trainer, the person who was really training me, his name is Frank, was training me for my weightlifting, what he said to me, which has stuck with me. Diet is about a lifestyle. I think the greatest challenge for most individuals is we look at diet as a temporary measure to get to a certain goal, and then you quit. And that's what destroys many people's diet. So, whether you're doing a fasting diet, or whether you're doing some kind of diet that has you restricting certain calories or avoiding certain foods, and we don't eat in a wholesome manner. And so it becomes something that you're struggling with. And then the moment you think you've hit it, you quit, and then it cycles over and over again. So what has my diet been? It's about learning what works for me in terms of an individual. What is my metabolic? There are some people who have very fast metabolism. They can eat anything and it doesn't show. There are people who have a slower metabolism. Everything you eat shows on every single part of your body, from your face to your hands to your hips to everywhere else. So it's learning what kind of metabolism do you have and what kind of eater are you. And then it's really just eating healthy and enjoying what you're eating. It's really difficult if you're eating and you don't enjoy what it is you're eating. You're simply eating because this is what you want to eat. So me, it's been learning to eat healthy, limiting the amount of refined sugars and the amount of added sugars to the food that I eat, and keeping it as much as possible on things that are unrefined. And I found that for me, it's very enjoyable. Lots of vegetables, lots of fresh fruits, lots of lean meats, or even meat that have fat are perfectly okay. But eating them in portions I can eat comfortably, not be uncomfortably full, not binge eating, and then water. I drink a lot of water. I always joke that when I'm in meetings, I'm the person who drinks my water and then drinks my neighbor's water when they're not watching, when they're still waiting and unsure when to drink water. Always asking for extra water. Many people walk around relatively dehydrated because they just don't drink enough water. They think, oh, I've drank a whole glass, 3 glasses. In the kind of weather that we live in Nairobi, you probably need about 3 liters just to really be drinking. and not be dehydrated. And if you're exercising, you need a little more than that. So making sure that you're drinking adequate amounts of water, eating to satiety, but not eating to a point of overfullness, and then just ensuring that you eat regular meals and not trying to do diets help you achieve certain goals. If you can diet, find an exercise that you really enjoy that works for you, then I think most people will find they will be able to shed off maybe excess weight that they don't want and be able to keep a relatively healthy weight that allows them to be active.
Yeah, I think that's quite insightful. You know, I am very strong on this point that you're actually responsible for everything you put in your mouth. There's no one who puts it in your mouth. You're responsible, so it's something that you can take a grip of. In fact, I tell guys when I go like to a buffet, the first thing I do is walk around holding my plate in my hand or without the plate. I decide what I'm going to eat. Because what happens in the buffets and these meetings, you start on one end, and by the time you get to the other end, everything seems to be getting better and better and better, and now you can't throw away the other, so your plate is so full. So I walk and look, and then I put what I want and in the right position. And if I want to go and add, I can always go and add, but I don't have to hit from the word go. And of course, things about the healthy plate, like you're talking about, the veggies, of course, there's a way that they're supposed to be. Half a plate, and the other quarter carbs and proteins. And of course, there are people who also don't take some certain kinds of things. So up to the individual, like you have said. But we are responsible for what we put in our mouth. So that's very, very important. I think we have talked about a little about, or we've touched on education and sports. So my question there was whether there is a relationship between success in education and sports. Do you want to add anything? But you quite took us through that.
I want to add, because I think especially for those who are young, you find that sports is a good way of helping people achieve their highest potential. Not everybody will be sporty, or not everyone will excel in sports, but everybody can learn to do a sport, learn to enjoy it, and learn to push through. The thing about sports is it allows you to be able to push through and break through barriers, just as your program is breaking barriers. It allows you to do more than you thought you could do. I want to take it back to our climb on when we were climbing Mount Kenya and we're getting to Nelian. We were actually at a point where people were exhausted. People didn't want to climb. People didn't want to talk. The altitude is high, you're struggling with breathing. You don't even want someone to smile at you. You get upset with them for just smiling at you. But you see, then you learn that you can do better than that. Now, I've gone back to Mount Kenya many times after that. And one of the climbs that I did, which was another, I guess, breaking barriers climb, was I went with my management team from my research and program. And we took 72 individuals who went up, 72 or 74, 72. We let 4 people didn't get to the top to Lenana because they started developing certain concerns and we didn't want to put anyone at risk. So 4 people had to go back down, but we got 68 individuals to the top. Now, it was such a good leadership training challenge because that's when you see people's true colors. When someone is exhausted and they've been throwing up, the question is, are they able to care about someone else? Or at that point in time, they're so annoyed, they don't want to talk to anyone else. Someone who has a fear of height, and they're climbing up to Lenana and they can see how far down it is. Are they able to conquer their fear and still be able to move on? And out of the team that climbed then, so many of them came back to me later and said, when we're climbing this mountain, we were just thinking, if I get another job, I'm going to quit this job. I don't want to work with you. But so many of them said to me later on, this was the thing we ever did, because anything that I faced thereafter that was difficult, I was able to tell myself, I was able to climb to Lenana even under difficult circumstances. I was able to bear that cold, that lack of appetite, that nausea, whatever I was able to face, I can face this. And I think that's what sports does for people. It allows you to be able to break physical barriers so that you know that you do more than what you thought your limits are.
Yeah. Wow, I think everyone on the show it must be quite fascinated at that, and because many of them are in one kind of sport or the other, and I know we are always trying to get to the next level, a minute faster, at the next higher mountain, etc. So that is quite some good good information and some good motivation for all of us. Again, being in the health sector, fitness has a lot of impact on disease prevention. And I think the narrative nowadays is about prevention and not treatment. So maybe you can just take us through that as well.
Okay, prevention, indeed. Prevention is much, much better than cure. We talk about promotion, health promotion, and then health prevention. And I like the fact that you talked about PrEP, pre-exposure prophylaxis, something that I was involved in, Pill a Day to keep HIV away. A really good message for young people, because if people do make a choice or make a choice about being sexually active, then they need to keep themselves safe. And HIV does not get written on anybody's forehead, and it doesn't get exposed where you can say, oh yeah, I know this person is likely or might have an opportunity. And many of the other prevention methods may not be acceptable, or people don't like them, or they have objections. So that was one of the groundbreaking opportunities that I had for being involved in the research that showed that you can take a pill away to keep HIV away, but it's a concept that we've used for many things, like malaria. People take malaria prophylaxis if they're going into a zone where there's malaria to protect themselves. You protect yourself from other infections by putting chlorine in water so that you don't end up getting any enteric diseases or diarrhea or vomiting. But coming back to the area of prevention and promotion of good health, yeah, that is really important. I think I would say that everybody needs, your body needs some amount of physical activity. So just find out what is it that you can do. Even if it is walking, not everybody needs to run and finish a marathon. Not everybody needs to lift weights or do kickboxing or do something else. Actually, it's reminded me, one of the things that I do 2 Saturdays a month is salsa dancing. That's another very good of being able to keep fit. Salsa keeps you mobile, you're flexible, but you can do any other dance or anything else that appeals to you. Find that exercise that works for you, in a rhythm that works for you. It doesn't have to be every single day. 3 days a week is good enough. And then just be consistent about it, because that allows you to stay mobile and stay healthy. Find a way or a mechanism of eating that works for you. For many people who work in offices, and now that people are going back to the workspace, carrying your own food is not only good in terms of ensuring that it's nutritious, it's also cost effective. You save a lot of food, a lot of money, rather than buying things that are already cooked, fried. You have no idea what they've used in it. So finding mechanisms that allow you to be able to eat healthy and also be able to move are really good. And the last thing I will say is sleep, getting adequate sleep. Many people who struggle with just being able to get a good routine, it's because their sleeping patterns are very erratic and they actually don't get enough sleep. So they're chronically tired. And then that makes it difficult for them to be able to accomplish the things they want to accomplish. And again, repeat it over and over again, drink water. Many people think I drank a cup of tea in the morning and then I drink 2 glasses of water during the day and I've had enough. Now I'll wait for my 1 glass of wine, or I'll wait for my last cup of tea. Many are chronically dehydrated as they're walking around. Really drink water. Just drink enough water, because that is a very important part of your staying healthy.
Yeah. Okay. I know some people are putting some questions. I'll ask the questions when we finish, but I can mention some comments as we go along. So Muhindi Kimanzi says, tick to the fact that you said sports helps you overcome barriers. Muhindi Kimanzi has been running every day for 365 days. Solomon, East Africa, welcome on board. Rachel says, I like keep consistent. When you say keep consistent in what you do, you can successfully pursue several interests. You are a clear reflection of this. And actually, I think, you know, for us to hear salsa, to hear weight, to hear marathon, I think most of us are running a lot and doing strength training just to support that. But I mean, now we are enlightened that we can even do a bit more. So that's good. And maybe let me ask a question. There's a question. How do you handle yourself when you don't achieve what you put yourself to achieve? Let me hold on to that, because I think it will come up somewhere in our discussion. So on weightlifting, and you rightfully said so, when even the weightlifter asked, the instructor said, for you to get into this competition, it's not a girl thing, it's a guy thing. And even for us guys, sometimes when you think of lifting weights, I'm personally one guy who takes little weights and pushes them up to failure plus 10. So you will find me with anything close to a tenth of what you lift. And of course, most of us will associate weightlifting with the Johnny Bravo sort of thing, that. So your comments on that, especially for ladies, and you had mentioned a bit, you had alluded to that a bit.
Weightlifting is actually really good. It's really good because it allows you to build muscle. It doesn't make you build bulk, say. It allows you to build muscle, and then it also allows you to cut down on the fat as you're building muscle. Muscle is what burns a lot of the energy that you use in every single day. And when you build muscle, as you're building strength, you actually burn more calories. I remember my sons telling me when I started weightlifting, they were very encouraging. They said, yeah, mom, go for it. Lift. Because it's going to help you not only stay strong, but it's also going to help you even in terms of my building, making sure my bones stay strong. At my age now, I'm 61 now, that's one of the important things you want to be able to consider. You want your bones to be strong, because the older you grow, the more it is that what we call osteoporosis, your bones start to break down. And then one would be more prone to injuries and to breakages. So when you are lifting weights, you're making your bones a lot stronger, even as you're making your muscles stronger. And so you're doing yourself a lot of good. And you can lift. You start at one. Nobody wakes up and lifts 150 kilos in a day.
Yes.
But to the 20, and then you go to the 30, and then you find you can lift the 40. And before you know it, you're lifting 100. And then before you know it, you're pushing 110 and thinking, I can do this. So you lift and you keep building on it. It's a question of building over a period of time. So it's very, very difficult to do it over a period of time, because you just lift and lift carefully and keep building up. And then you find, to your amazement, you're lifting weights that you would not have imagined that you could lift.
Yeah, I like that, especially because, okay, when we see you lifting, what was the heaviest weight you lifted, by the way? The total. So
the total was for the farmer's walk, we're actually doing 80 kilos on each side, so it was 160. For the deadlift, we're actually lifting, the weight was 150 beyond that. 150 was the minimum that you could start on for that competition. The farmer's walk had 80 kilos on each side, 160 to.
Yes, that is like 2.5 of me, just wrapped around. Even not 3 times. Yeah, but Prof, I like the fact that you say, which is very important, you didn't just lift that weight we see on that photo. You built it over time. Because I think that what is very scary is how do you get there. So I guess with time, I think that is an important factor, because sometimes, and this is what I call the iceberg, we see what is up, but we don't see the process down there. And what you have talked about is the process. So just like everything else, but I think because you're not in weightlifting, then we don't think about that. We don't know exactly that you progress from a certain weight upward. So that's a very good point. So for you to be able to do this, what is your support system like?
I have a great support system. My parents are no longer alive, but I have siblings who are extremely supportive. I have 4 grown sons who are my cheerleaders. I have grandchildren who are very happy because I can lift them up and throw them in the air, because for them that's an exciting thing. But one of them was asking the parents, to lift them up the way Dani is a grandmother in Luo. They were saying, lift me up the way Dani does. And when their parent lifted them up, they said, no, you don't know how to do it. I'll wait for Dani to come and lift me, because of, I guess, the opportunity to have lifted weights, it's not hard for me to lift up a 15-kilogram child and throw them up in the air, which makes them really happy. So I've had a great support network system there. I also have what I call my stretcher bearers. Now, this comes from a sermon that I had many years ago, in which the bishop of my church repeated a short while ago, and he describes the story of the 4 gentlemen who carried somebody to Jesus to get them to be healed. And there was such a crowd that they could not reach, and so they made a hole in the roof and they dropped this person in, but they were carrying them. There were 4 of them. But the story is told to then say, do you have stretcher bearers? Do you have people who, if you are completely incapacitated, you could not move, whether emotionally, mentally, physically, financially? Do you have people who would drop everything, come and lift you up, and see what is the best way of being able to help you? So I have my stretcher bearers, friends who have been very good friends and who remain part of my strong friendship circle, who are available to me. They're the people whom I can tell anything, go to for any support, cry on their shoulders, complain, get their support. So I have a network of individuals who supports me very strongly. And in fact, for that particular strongman competition, one of them, I was due to visit her because at that point in time she was in Botswana. And the competition was falling when I was booking my tickets and saying I was already heading out. And so when the finals of the competition came, I was like, I don't think I can do this because it's going to take a week off the time I'm supposed to be away. And I told her about it and I said, you know what? This competition, I've been invited to the finals and I don't think I can make it because this takes time that I was supposed to have traveled. She said, no, just shift your travel. Shift your travel to the day after. Go do this competition. It'll be good for you. Just go do it and then come. So in a sense, she gave me the freedom to be able to cut off the time that we were supposed to spend with her, come and do the competition, and then travel thereafter to go and then spend time with her. So I have a strong support network, and it's something that I would recommend to everybody that you do need. Why 4 stretcher bearers? 4 people can carry you easily. If it's 3 people, one will be carrying a lot of weight and the 2 others won't. If it's 2 people, it's a lot of weight. They will not be able to carry you very far. If it's 1 person, they'll be dragging you. There's no way they're going to carry you because they're going to get tired. So having a supportive network of friends who are truly friends, people who appreciate you and accept you as you are, but are willing to drop down and do anything they can to help you be better, that's an important thing for everybody to have.
Yeah, I like the stretcher bearers, yeah? Well, I've actually put that point on the chart. Wow. So I know in all this, of course, there are struggles in the way, etc. How do you define success?
That's an excellent question, David. How do I define success? For me, success is about being the best that I can be in the space that I'm in and doing my best to be able to support others around me. I don't define success by just what I do. I define success by what I also enable others to do. It's knowing your calling. It's knowing what your purpose is, and it's in fulfilling that purpose. I have clarity that my role is really around leadership development. It happens to be in the medical and research world. That is where I do my capacity building, leadership development, also the church space where I'm teaching and involved in school and working with the youth. But that's where I would say my success is in being able to see people whom I've mentored, who are doing even better there perhaps than I did, people whom I've been part of their lives and being able to help them get to achieve what they would have wanted to achieve, whether it's in a PhD or finishing medical school or going on to high school for the children that I teach in Sunday school. And interestingly, some of the people that I taught in Sunday school many years ago, some of them are now also medical doctors, some of them are working in the engineering field, some of them are working in IT, and it's been such a joy to be able to see them come back and say, thank you. Thank you for being part of my support network when I was 13 and 14. Thank you for believing in me when I wasn't sure that I had anything to give. And part of the camp, I did talk about our ropes camp, our rites of passages experiences camp, does that. It helps combine both the physical activity that helps people push to the limits with also being able to just help these young teenagers out. How do they want to live life in their teenage years? What are their goals? What are their ambitions? What are their dreams? What are their hopes? And how can they get there? How can they live their best lives and make choices that will allow them to be the best that they can be? So that's how I define success. Really being able to do the best I can in every sphere where I'm called to and giving it my best shot.
Yes, I like that, Prof. And it also touches on something. I've got a race I do on the 1st of every year. We call it the New Year's Ignite New Year's Run. And the theme for this year was actually Blossom Where You're Planted. And I was actually using the story of Joseph and how he excelled, whether he was in prison, whether he was sold by his brothers, etc. And I also like, importantly, the way that you say that you become the best, but not just yourself, but even the people around you. Because I'm also very strong on, you growing with the people around you, because you don't want to be the kind of fellow who is good and everyone else around you is not good, or just a small circle around you is good, but anyone else who is not in that circle does not matter. So I think it's important that we grow and carry others along with us, and also be able to inspire others so that they can go on and inspire others, and that cycle goes on. I like to tell people that, just touching on that there are people, and you have mentioned about people you tutored in Sunday school, and now they are medical doctors and engineers. I like to tell guys, I remind guys that I'm in a space where many people that are brought up in aviation are actually very helpful in the support of the work that I do in my business, and whether in terms of being my customers, or being in spaces where they can be able to help me achieve things. They help me move things faster than would ideally probably slow down if we didn't have a connection. So I think it's very important to also grow with those around you, and I like that so much, and is a great takeaway for me and a great encouragement even from where I am, and I'm sure even from the guys around us, there's a lot of that. So tell us about the behind the scenes, which is a question that Rachel had asked. Of course, in all this, you have failed. There are injuries. There are times that you put goals and you don't achieve them. Tell us about that, and then how you cope with that when the going gets tough. What goes through your mind? Maybe you could divide it into two, or you could just do it in your own way. So how the behind the scenes, the failures, injuries, wins, and when the going gets tough.
Okay, the going does get tough, as it gets tough for everybody in life. Let me start with, I told you that we were trying to climb all the way to Batian, the highest peak of Mount Kenya. We didn't get there. Yeah. We're a group of 5 of us, 3 rangers and our guide. The climb took longer than we had anticipated. We got to the top of Nelian. It was cold. We didn't have enough water. We didn't have enough food. We didn't have tents. You can't camp out at the top there without a tent. It's freezing. And we looked at it, and the lead trainer, I had been designated the lead of that team. And the reason I was designated the lead is because I was the slowest climber. So, you take care of the weakest link. If the slowest climber can climb, everybody else can climb. So I was the team leader, and I was told, it's icy. It's going to be very difficult. Even though we had with the cramps that we could add to our shoes, our hiking boots to be able to climb, I was told the challenge is we're going to have to rope each other. But if somebody slips, if someone at the end slips, and if they slip far, it will be very difficult for us to rescue them. And it's the kind of place where we would be saying we are going to cut the rope. So is there anyone here who you'd be willing to take a risk for and say, if someone slips, we are cutting the rope? I looked at them and I said, no. There's nobody whose family I would want to explain to that I'm sorry, we went up, but we did not come back with this one person. And I had to make that call. It was such a hard call. The other team members were all saying, we can't go back. Not when we come this far. Climbing Batian and Nelion, it's what those things that are sort of like a once in a lifetime climb. It's not something you say you're going to climb and climb again over and over again. It's a difficult process for preparation. It's a difficult climb to do. And they were saying, no, let's just push. And I looked at them and I said, no, I can't explain a death. I can't explain a life. I'd rather we all go back alive, even if we fail and we didn't get to the top and people were really. But I made the call and we came back down. By the time we came back, we were so tired. People slept in their boots and couldn't even eat. So it was a failure, but it was a failure that led to the success because the next team climbing up was able to plan better, and they were able to sleep at the top of Nelian because they carried tents, and then the next morning go all the way to Batian and come back down. So that was failure, but it's failure that we learned from in so many different ways. And it's failure that I look back on and I can still think about the many lessons I learned in training and preparing for that climb that helped me help me keep going up to date. Failure in other ways. Yes, there have been failures in other ways. I think on the academic side, I would say I've been relatively lucky, but I can't say that medical school was easy. Oh yes, medical school had some days when you look at your marks and you wonder, did you really choose the right course? And then lecturers are telling you, we really wonder why you came to medical school. And medical school pass mark is 50. Anything below 50 is a fail. Even a 49 is a fail. So yeah, there have been opportunities where there have been failures. But the big picture is from each failure, there's been opportunity to learn to do better. And overall, there's still been opportunity to get to where I needed to get to. Even in the work life, there have been challenges because there have been opportunities where I've worked in high administrative positions that have been very challenging in terms of working. And there are many times that I found myself being an only female in a boardroom full of men. And often people would ignore what you said, or they would only pick it up if another man repeats what you said, and then suddenly it's a good idea. But when you had said it, everybody ignored it because it didn't make sense to them. Or decisions that would be made, not in the boardroom where you're sitting, but decisions are made somewhere else where people meet for after-work drinks. So you come back the next day, decisions have been made, and you can't understand where those decisions came from because they were never discussed actually at the table. So I've had many of those challenges, but I think it's been an opportunity to also stand my ground and to make a difference where I could, and to stand my ground for just doing the right thing in the right way and challenging authority when I needed to, but challenging it with politeness, challenging it with facts, and standing my ground when I needed to.
I think that's a very important comment, that you challenge, but you challenge with politeness, I guess, with decorum, but make sure that your point is articulated anyway, whether it makes people happy or unhappy. But if it's a fact and it's something that you believe in, then you articulate it. And that's a good lesson for all of us here, because I'm sure in our spaces, sometimes, in fact, I like to say amongst friends and where authority is involved is where we don't want to actually express ourselves just in case we lose our jobs or we annoy that friend of ours. But I think it's a good lesson for us to take from you. And I think eventually when people look back, even if they may not accept it, even if they are difficult people, they probably look back and say she had a point, but anyway, yeah, we are the way we are, yeah. So when the going gets tough, what goes through your mind? Is there something you hold on to keep you going, to make you not give up, or to give you an extra charge?
Yes, my faith. My faith has been my pillar. I know there is a God in heaven. I know that he cares about me. I know I'm not just a being of the world, here today, gone tomorrow. So I have a reason to be alive. So my faith has been a grounding pillar of keeping me going, even when the going is rough. Because sometimes there are things that are utterly beyond you, utterly beyond what you can do as a human being, beyond networks that you have, beyond strengths that you can pull on, beyond connections. And for me, at that point, just recognizing, you know what, there are things that, their battles I only win by going down on my knees. Yeah. So those have been opportunities to be able to hold on to faith. And I can say without a shadow of a doubt, I've seen God come through for me many, many, many times.
Yeah, and I think an important point, and for me, the thing is, and because we are also developing the thing for next year, which we shall be releasing, is to be pliable and to work with God, and to be able to trust that he has, in his own good time, he will do the right thing. I mean, he will guide you through and will give you the right thing that may not be at that time. I mean, at a particular point, you may not think that is the right thing, but when you look back, and you can look back at many instances in the past where something that didn't work out very well, including even sometimes losing jobs. I think we've had people lose jobs and only to realize that actually what had happened, they have stagnated in that job. And because of losing that one, maybe they became a bit more active in another area and eventually met opportunities that they would not have met while they in the other one. So sometimes, in fact, I remember one example that I was listening to, that God will also remove you from a stagnation to a point of where you can now grow. But you will know when you are removed from that stagnation, you may not realize that that is the case. So the key thing is to trust and to work, to work with him, and also be pliable. So that's a very good, I think, I think it can't get better than that. So do you look up to anyone, a coach, a role model?
Are there many people I look up to? So if I was to start listing them, I think there'd be many, many, many of them that I would look up to. But let me start with talking about, I talk about the 3 strong women in my life, 2 who are now gone and who is still alive. My grandmother was someone I looked at very, very much. She was a known woman who had a very firm belief, but also was so strong about her support, her courage, and just what she did. So she was someone I looked up to very, very much. My mother, late now, was also someone I looked up to very much. If you asked each of my siblings, we'd all tell you we were our mother's favorite child. She had a way of making everybody so special. We all knew we were the most important out of all of us, and yet each one of us was important in our own way. So those are 2 women who I looked up to very much. And my sister, who lives in Papua New Guinea, she's not here. If you don't know where Papua New Guinea is, look for Australia, and then you'll be able to find Papua. She has been my champion and my role model from right from when I was a little child. She taught me how to spell my name before I went to nursery school. And so on the first day of nursery school, when she walked me up to nursery school, because I had 3 siblings ahead of me, my parents weren't going to bother being the ones to take me to school. When we were all dropped in school, she's the one who walked me to my class, and she had taught me how to spell my name. So when I was asked my name, I said my name, I spelled it, and I immediately became the class captain and remained class captain throughout the rest of my life. So I say she set me up for life, leadership and responsibility. But she has been a great role model. She really has been inspiring. She's a medical doctor herself, a professor as well. She's of psychiatry though. She's very good in mental health, dealing with mental health issues. That was her chosen field of work. But she's someone I highly look up to because she has been a great support. But I'll also say my other siblings have also been great people who have been inspiring me in many ways. My oldest brother is in the media. He is called Charles Muga. He is in the Situation Room, Standard Media House. So he's one of the people that I look up to. Always been a champion and an adventurous person who always was making us leap from one to another. I've got another brother who's in the media who writes for the Star. His name is Wycliffe Muga. He has always been a role model insofar as he's an extremely academic and very critical thinker in so many ways. And he has been my role model in that way. My youngest brother, who's the last one I'll mention, who is the only person I could send because there was only one younger than me since I'm 4th born. And he has one of those incisive minds who's always finding solutions to things. He's an architect by training, and he's a logistician par excellence who always finds a way of being able to resolve things. And so for me, this network of individuals whom I've grown up with have inspired me over the years, always pushing me to do better than what I thought I could be, and they have been a role model. The rest have been my sons who have totally inspired me. They have, I learned how to cycle as an adult after I taught my children how to cycle. Then they taught me how to cycle. They helped me get to the outdoors. I climbed Mount Kenya with them as well, each of them at different times. And so they've been a role model for me to be able to move on. And part of my inspiration for staying fit now is I want to be the grandmother who can do things with my grandchildren, not the one who sits down and says, go pick that, go bring me this. I want to be the one who can still run around with them, can throw them up in the air, can be available to go and swim with them, and do all the activities that might be fun for them, but that are also good for me in terms of just keeping me agile and healthy.
Yeah. You just confirmed what they say that the 5 people you hang around the most will influence you a lot. I think you have more than 5. In fact, Chef Safari says, wow, team kubwa hiyo. So it's a good thing, but and I guess you're taking the lessons, and this is quite inspiring. I think even for me, who does a lot of his inspiring stuff, I'm really inspired. So I'm drawing a lot from you. How do you celebrate your wins, Prof?
Celebrate my wins. I celebrate because my wins are not my own. My wins are my wins with my teams. My wins are my wins with my family, my wins. So I celebrate with family. I celebrate with friends. I celebrate with my teams at work. I celebrate with my teams at Those have been great opportunities for me to celebrate those wins. I'm actually quite a bit of an introvert in some ways, and I like quiet, green, outdoor spaces. So those are places where I really thrive, where I really enjoy my time. So I celebrate by being around people who matter to me and who I matter to. And those are the opportunities that I use for really building community and growing and just enjoying my time.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. That is great. So you're struggling with many, but eating alone. That is very good. Do you have any upcoming challenge coming up?
Well,
and I know you're doing a lot of things.
Well, next year, I definitely want to now complete a full marathon. That's one of the things that I want to do. I've done the half marathon this year. I'm hoping for the full marathon next year. If the weightlifting competitions come back, I definitely want to go back into weightlifting again for Strongman Kenya, hoping that with the COVID going down, they'll be ready to start the competitions again. So that will be a good opportunity to go in again. Hopefully I won't be the oldest person again. Maybe there'll be someone older than me who may. But even if I'm the oldest person, I'm quite happy to be the oldest person competing. But those are opportunities for doing. So any challenge coming up for my class, the cross class camp is coming up in December. I'm looking forward to that. That will be a good opportunity for the young people to challenge me and me to challenge them with endurance and the life lessons we're going to learn together. So yeah, those are the things that are hopefully lined up in the next short while.
Okay. And on the full marathon, I think we will, there's a team of ladies here. Ladies, let's make sure we hold her hand and get her to the full marathon. She's obviously got the mentor ability. So it's just now aligning the body to that mentor capacity. So I'm sure you shall get a lot of help. Also on the challenge, hopefully, we'll look out and we'll be cheering you on if you get into the weightlifting. And hopefully we can also attend and come in person and see you and encourage you along. So breaking barriers is a story of challenging norms. I like to say that we all have stories, and for those who may not know, I've harbored the thought to start breaking barriers because every so often when I hang around guys, because I like to listen to people's stories, whether in business, sports, or any other, I just like to keep my ears open because you learn a lot when you listen to people's stories, and that is why I started breaking barriers. So it's about stories of challenging norms. We all have stories and experiences. In every experience, it's important to take stock and take lessons to encourage and inspire others. This is what breaking barriers is about. Possibilities, the journey, one person inspires another and creating a cycle of inspiration. So Prof, as we wind up, what are your 3 key lessons that we can tap into for inspiration and encouragement and encouragement? And I have taken a lot of notes, so there are many, but I'll just request you to probably just sum up 3 of your key ones.
So if I was to summarize 3, I would say number 1, nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible. Not at any age, not at any time, nothing is impossible. Number 2, I would say if you want to do it, go for it. Find a way. They say, how do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time. You can do it if you want to do it. And number 3, I would say, keep your faith in God as you move forward. Keep your faith in God as you move forward, and you'll be able to achieve.
Amen. Amen. I've noted those takeaways. So share with us a mantra you live by that keeps you going, if any.
I think we talked a little about this. For me, it's about my faith. My faith has been what really keeps going. And just recognizing that it doesn't matter how difficult or how hard things are, nothing lasts forever. A friend of mine used to say, the good thing about bad things is they come to an end. But of course, also the bad thing about good things is they also come to an end. So nothing lasts forever. Nothing stays indefinitely. So really living in the moment, enjoying the moment, making use of this moment. This moment is what you have. You don't know what the future holds. You don't know what's going to come tomorrow. You have now, you have today. Make use of it now.
I guess that's a good one. So that we are living, I think the problem with today is that you're always thinking about tomorrow, but you fail by working so much for tomorrow, you fail to live today. So that's a good point. What values do you hold close to you? And I'm sure some of them you have covered. Prof, you may have missed. I asked, what values do you hold close to you?
What values do I hold close to me? Integrity is definitely one of them. Integrity is a deep for me. I really, really value integrity, value kindness, and I value really not considering. I guess the Bible puts it very carefully. It says, do not think of yourself higher than you ought to. Everybody's important. Everybody has a purpose. Everybody has a reason for why they're here. Really, as the Bible puts it, thinking about others before yourself, putting others before yourself. Those are values that I hold close. Everybody has a purpose and everybody has something important to offer. God doesn't make rubbish. Everybody has something that is valuable about them. They are human. They were made for a reason. They have a purpose and they're valuable.
Prof, I'll engage you for the theme for the Ignite. I'll be launching it this week, the theme for Ignite 2023. Because it gravitates a lot around that, and because we haven't launched it, I will not let the cat out of the bag, but it is in that exact spirit of everyone being important. But I'll get to you on that. Any other final remarks from you?
My final remarks, I guess, would just be to say that you're important. For everybody who's listening, for everybody who may be questioning something, maybe going through something that's difficult or challenging or that's making them wonder. In the last short while, I've come across a lot of individuals in this country who've either had a loved one or friend or someone been diagnosed with cancer. There are a lot of people who've lost people during this COVID period, either from COVID or from another comorbid condition, but COVID may have heightened it. There are many people who are going through challenges with just mental well-being and mental health issues. And I guess for each of them, I'd like to say you are important. Part of your overall health will be attenuated, accentuated if you do take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. This is the only you have. And life isn't a rehearsal. It's today and tomorrow. One day we are no longer here, but there is the opportunity to rehearse and redo it all over again. So take care of yourself, because consider you are important and you do matter. And do the things that will count for you. Find that thing that you love that keeps you physically active. Do it and do it consistently. Find a pattern that works for you in terms of what you enjoy eating, how you enjoy eating, and those patterns that are good for you. Drink a huge amount of water. Drink more water than you think you could. And then just make sure that you are getting enough. Don't push yourself to the point where you are overworking in terms of even exercising and not getting adequate rest, because rest is a very important part of exercising. Rest is an important part of being able to build up strength. And above all, enjoy your life. One life, it's here, and this is it. Enjoy today. Enjoy the now. This is what you have, so make full and good use of it.
So let me just that's great. Before we wrap up, I just see if there is any comments I missed, just so that we make sure we have sort of addressed everyone's comments. Dr. Wanjiko left a little bit. I said she's very inspired. There's something you had said, and Mwindi Kimanzi had said. Had said, like amen. The others I read. I think there was a comment from Duko. Duko says, thank you for stretch bearers. I have had the opportunity to get people around me who have encouraged me to continue running marathons as I continue being a stretcher bearer to others. I think Duko has been supported, has been very supportive to others, encouraging. I think for me, Duko has been always, I think if there's anyone who has pushed me towards looking at my runs having charity is Duko and Rachel as well. So that is actually very, very good. So each of my runs supports a charity. The consistency we talked about. Yeah, these ones I had read. What has she carried from her fitness journey into her professional life? I think we covered that, unless there's any additional comment. We covered that.
We covered it. Breaking through the hard times, picking up and keeping on going.
Yes. And now, again, Dr. Wanjiko, she had asked, wondering if she can share about unmet goals and targets. How does she handle those? You mentioned a bit, but I don't know if you want to add something.
I did talk about to handle them. Yeah, how I've handled them. Rather.
Yes, yes. Correct, yeah. Congratulations to seeing you inspire generation about being physically fit by engaging ourselves into active lifestyle. Many times people have excuses about getting time to exercise, which is very true. So we are getting that notion away. Someone highlights the issue of you can combine excellences. That's very, I think, a key takeaway. I'm just keeping the ones that I had read. The initial ones we are looking forward. Yes, I think, Prof, I'm actually as excited and probably quite excited as a host. And and also looking at myself as an audience. It's been fantastic. I mean, to listen to you and listen to all those what you have shared is actually very inspiring. So, and I think we'll keep looking at how we can tap into that in the various forums, where we can support you in the areas that we probably have a bit of insights or we have moved ahead of you. We can always guide you, especially on the marathons. But I'm definitely sure people are very inspired. I will put this on my YouTube and I'll share a link with you. You can also share so that those who are not on Instagram can also listen. And I mean, this would be a very good for me. Like when I work out, these are the kinds of things I listen to. And Chep says, Asante Sana, Prof and David, such an inspiring live session. Monica has just joined in. We are winding up, but I'll put it on YouTube. It's the kind of thing that I want to listen as I drive, as I work out, because, you know, we always need to draw some inspiration from somewhere. We say that for you to give, if you are constantly emptying your glass, then you'll eventually burn out. So this is the kind of thing that even for me, who does a lot of these kinds of things, it fills up my cup. So I appreciate you, Professor. Everyone appreciates you. Keep inspiring. I know in your various circles, not just here, from what we have listened to at work, church, around the estate, etc. You're inspiring many people. Even those who may not know you, I'm sure get inspired as they watch. In fact, Chep is saying you can save the live on your Instagram as well. Once it is finished, yes, I'm going to save it. And then also because the reason why I put it on YouTube is because some guys are not on Instagram. Thank you, Prof, for also accepting to come on board. And we cannot say thank you more than that. I mean, we cannot say how thankful we are. And we look forward and we wish you well. We'll be looking out. And please let us know if anything comes up so that we can cheer you on. Thank you so much. Thank you, viewers. Yeah, and you can say the final bye, Prof.
Bye, everybody. Go out and be.
Bye. Yes, thank you so much and have a good evening. I know it's a bit late. We'll catch up sometime. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.